Hello and welcome back to the Ultra Films channel. My name is Evan. I am the producer here. Today I am here to talk to you about Murderville. Now, this show is freaking great. I'll just say that out the gate. Bars. I didn't plan that, but that is pretty much how this show is an unplanned, ridiculous mess of improv, and it's hilarious. Now, obviously, main star of the show is Will Arnett. He's Detective Terry Seattle. And then there's a couple other recurring characters. The chief of police is Rhonda Jenkins. Jenkins Seattle. It's hyphenated. They're going through a divorce. She's played by Hanifa Wood. And then the coroner is also recurring. Lillian Bowden plays Amber King. And then Detective Diaz... Detective Diaz is from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Detective Daz Phillips is played by Philip Smithy. And he gets into a relationship ultimately with the police chief. Those are the only recurring characters as far as I know. There's the narrator, and then maybe some of the other officers that show up. But outside of that, that is pretty much it. Now, the best part about this show is that each week there's a new celebrity guest, which is Terry's partner. And there's 6 of them. Episode 1, it actually says on here, all the numbers on this poster are the guests in order that they come on. So 1 is Conan, 2 is Marshawn Lynch, Kumail, Anna Faris, Sharon Stone, and Ken Jeong. And actually, I'm sorry, Annie Murphy, not Annie Faris. My bad. But they're all great in their own way. Now, my favorite episode has to be the 3rd one with Kumail. I'm a big fan of Kumail. I've always been a big fan of Kumail. And so that's my favorite. Episode 5 is also pretty dang good with Sharon Stone. 6 is hilarious. They all have their funny best parts. I can't even go into all of them, but I'm going to try and talk about as many of those moments as possible. I took plenty of notes on this whole series, and it's just a good one. It's just a good one. So, this show follows the typical trend of like crime documentary or like CSI shows where there's a crime that happens and then you have to go investigate the crime scene, pick up clues, and then you go and interrogate suspects. However, it's all improv. So there's like certain things that the characters, the suspects, and the like coroner and the chief are supposed to say. However, everything else is up to the celebrity guest each week to figure out. So it's 100% on them to pay attention during these chaotic episodes to figure out who the murder suspect is. And then at the end, they are solely responsible for saying who it was out of the 3 potential suspects. And then if they get it wrong, they get fired. And if they get it right, then they just get it right. But I'm sure it feels a lot better to get it right than wrong. I don't even remember who gets it right and who gets it wrong, but regardless, it's funny because the logic that they have to throw in there is the same sort of logic you'd apply in a crime show, and that like the little pieces of evidence you'd have to pick up along the way. However, it's just explained in the most goofy way possible by the captain at the end, whether or not they got it right, or it's explained goofily by the actual people guessing, the celebrity guests. And so it just makes for this funny dynamic. Will Arnett just eggs everybody on in the perfect way, and it just makes it great. So episode 1 is Conan. There's a murder of a magician's assistant who gets sawed in half, and so they have to go and like ask the former assistant and the rival magician, and then some other like mom who's like a Christian mom against magic sort of thing. So that they go and ask them all these questions. Magic Melvin is the name of the rival magician, and I believe he's the one who ends up like actually being the murderer. Is that right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's right. But like he in the interrogation room, they have him in there, and he's like doing these little tricks to try and distract them. And Conan's like unfazed by the whole thing. But Will Arnett's Terry Seattle is just like, oh my god, this guy's great. What a brilliant man, sort of thing. It's pretty dang funny. But ultimately, like in the interrogation scene, he goes, yeah, at the end, he goes, I wanted him dead. That was his motive. And it's just so funny because like Conan has this whole thing why he explains who it was and why. And then they ask him Conan asks him at the end, hey, why'd you do it? And he just goes, I just wanted him dead. Because it's not, he doesn't have any the actor who played the Magic Melvin guy didn't have any lines after the certain point. So he has to improv it too. Literally, it gets so out of control sometimes. It's great. Yeah, I think there's probably other good moments. I didn't take great notes actually on the first episode. Episode 2, it's Marshawn Lynch, former Seattle running back, which is pretty funny. They make some jokes at his, him playing football in Seattle. They do a scene at the beginning of every episode where Terry Seattle's introduced to his new partner with the chief. So like he walks into the office for the day, has something to say or something's going on, and then gets introduced to a brand new partner each week, and then has to go from there, kind of thing. And then they sit down in his office, have a discussion over why they wanted to be detectives, or it just gets goofy, just like everything else in this show. The second episode, there's a doll that Terry Seattle was obsessed with as a kid called Tommy Toon. And Marshawn Lynch is the guest, obviously. They have to go investigate the crime of the murder of the maker of this doll. And so he's obsessed and like starstruck, and Marshawn goes, who the is Tommy Toon? But the three suspects are the like this triplet of brothers who were this sons of this doll maker. I forget if it was like the mom or the father. I guess it was their mother who made the doll. And so essentially one of the three of them had killed them, but they all look exactly the same. So like the one who did it got caught on camera, except it's triplets, so they had to do an actual investigation. That's the whole scene that gets set up in his office. They're like, yeah, we have the security footage of the murder. And then they show the footage and they're like, well, that's easy. We got the guy right there. And then they go, well, here's the problem. It's triplets. There's three of them. So the first brother's name is Charles. He's like a CEO of the company who's like actively running the Tommy Toon doll and like updating it and upgrading it, trying to make it better, but like they wouldn't. Oh man, it's so funny because Marshawn's just he's not an actor, so he goes, well, act like you can't. The fuck? Oh man. Then like he's like showing him the updated doll designs, and he's like, what do you think about his hair? And he goes, that hair is so bitchin'. It's just pretty funny. The second brother is Chester, who's a doomsday prepper. Marshawn ends up tackling him in the bunker for some reason, trying to steal his fake money. His like own, he started his own country called Chester World in his like the basement of the mom's house or something like that. And he was like getting asked to pay rent, and he didn't want to. And like he was like trying to make his own country. He was like paying with these fake dollars, the Chester dollar. And they asked to put Marshawn on the dollar. The guy's also weirdly obsessed with pretzels, which I don't know if it was actually relevant. I just thought it was funny because he just kept mentioning Wetzel's pretzels. Then the last one is Chad, the last brother. The worst name in the world, Chad. Failed influencer. I don't even know what these are about. Oh, he got a calf implant, which again I don't know if was relevant, but he like called it out. He got like hit and he was like, ow. Oh wait, hold on, I remember. They're doing a poker game, so Will also sends his guests in to do these like interactions like while they're mic'd in, so that he can feed them lines and from outside of the wherever they're doing their investigation, and they're like undercover. So he sends in Marshawn to this poker game that Chad's hosting, and he like, I don't know, the guy hurt his calf somehow, but they have to make up cover names for each of these guests. And Marshawn's cover name is Octavius Shitwagon, which is hilarious. And then like they keep saying his name to him and forcing him to not laugh in this scenario where he's like in a super serious poker game. It's pretty funny. And then like they give like these clues, like Chester like threw something, but like, oh, Chester like went to like show them the bat or something, and he picked it up with his left hand or something like that, or he was like writing something on the dollar or whatever, so he was left-handed. But they like set up all in the murder stuff, they like set up all these things that you're supposed to be watching out for. In this case, it was supposed to be that he was like watching out for somebody left-handed and had access to certain things, and like this guy was living in his mother's basement in the night he got murdered. He came out the door or whatever. But yeah, so I think Marshawn actually picks the wrong person and gets fired in this episode. And then like they're talking about going to get like pretzels or something at the end, and then he's like, yeah, I think that's supposed to be where it like freeze frames or whatever. He's like, oh really? I didn't know it was gonna do that. And then it freeze frames right after. Just overall a funny show. Episode 3 is Kumail, my favorite one by far. Hold on, I gotta find the notes for it though. Okay, here we are. Episode 3. This one's my literal favorite. And the reason I started watching this show is because I saw the Netflix clips account, like the official Netflix account that posts like clips of shows to like get people to watch. I saw them post a clip of Kumail's episode where they're walking down the hallway, and he's supposed to do this stupid little fucking walk. It's so funny because he can't keep a serious face through this entire episode. It's so funny because he just can't take any of it seriously. And they posted the clip of him walking down the hall, and I thought it was a blooper. And I went, oh man, this is hilarious. This is going to be a funny show. And I knew it was Will Arnett. I'm a big fan of his in general. And I saw the Kumail, and I went, I'm watching this. It wasn't a blooper. It's an actual scene. And I didn't realize that it was all improv stuff, and that was real for the show until I started watching, and I went, oh god, this episode is going to be so funny. Oh man. Yeah, some of the best lines from the opening scene when he's in the office with him is, I want you unhappy and alone just like me, is what Will says to his wife who's divorcing him. Oh man. And then she yells back at him, you didn't touch me for 8 years. He also questions what the definition of sex is. That's pretty great. There's a because I'm a fan of Kumail's, there's a line when they're sitting down in the office, just the two of them, and he asks Kumail if he works out, which is a direct nod to how fucking jacked this guy got for Eternals. He was this like silly, frail little guy that everybody didn't think was, you know, a serious actor, just a comedian, and then all of a sudden he gets super jacked for a Marvel movie. And so that's literally him just like asking him, hey, are you like work out at all? Just to like throw that out there. Oh man. Then like the chief comes into the room and she says there's a murder, and then they both gasp or whatever, and then they like make fun of Kumail gasping weirdly, and they go, no, you need to try that again, and so they make him do it like 3 or 4 more times to make him up. Terry was as initially excited because their like high school reunion was supposed to be that night, and he was upset because he was like, no, I was gonna go to my high school reunion tonight or whatever, and then they found out, or he didn't want to go, and then they found out he did, but then it was like this moment where he went, oh, a bunch of people would think that I'm really cool because I'm investigating a murder sort of thing, which is an interesting way to look at your high school reunion, but that's how he did. They find the body with a CD stuck in its neck. He was a billionaire creator of Faceplace, a direct reference to Facebook. Too many parallels in this, man. It's too funny. Then there's like a bunch of like really old people, which I think was a dig at Will Arnett and how old Terry's, or even just how old Terry's supposed to be. Like all these people look super old. There was like literally like somebody who was 70 years old and like walking around the thing just to like play on that. Terry's like all insecure being there. There's like also a murder note in the guy's mouth, and so they have to take it out. This is when Kumail just starts losing it from here on out. I mean, he couldn't keep a straight face when they made him gasp over and over, but like from that point forward, it's just all laughs from him, and the scenes just feel like they take forever because all he does is laugh. The NPCs or whatever you want to call them, I'm gonna just call them NPCs because they're just like the characters that are just shoved in there to say their one thing and then get out of the way. All of them like can't even keep a straight face. The guy who he takes the murder note out of is laughing. There's some others in some of the other episodes that, because of how ridiculous this situation is and how the celebrities responding, that they just can't keep a straight face. It's too great. Oh man. So anyways, the 3 suspects for this one are Kevin Rivera. He was a former founder of Faceplace with the other guy. They used to be best friends, but he got kicked out. And then like he's like in a computer lab, like doing work or something like that, but ends up like throwing CDs at them and whiffing. Like he just can't throw them at all. So like that's the sign that he's not the killer. This one, like the signs were pretty obvious and pointed to the right, at least to 2 people in general. And then, you know, the next suspect, they actually do some like super racist stuff with Kumail, and they ask him to like sound more Pakistani. Well, Arnett's like, no, you need to sound more Pakistani, and he's telling Will to do it, and he's like, yeah, you gotta sound more Pakistani, but don't be racist about it. It's pretty damn funny. The second suspect is Brad Toker. They send him in undercover. They send Kumail in undercover because it's Terry's high school reunion, so he has like a reason to be there. And this other guy's like apparently like the old high school jock who used to be a bully, so they don't want like anything to break out with them like finding out he's a detective and stuff like that, investigating the murder. So they send in Kumail with a fake name for this one, and his name is Cornelius Wienerbottom. They talk about how they were in homeroom 4 and they like sing the school song, and Kumail's like trying to like sing it as this other guy's like singing it, and He's laughing through it the whole time. This guy says that it was his destiny to play professional football in Canada. Kumail just breaks out laughing again, just dying, because it's there's this goofy idea that, like, you wanted to play professional football in Canada. That was your destiny. It's just so goofy. Oh man. The guy says he scored a 40 on his SAT because of hate speech. They do like a cool walk in and out. It's so goofy. Ultimately, the guy like had written his name on the locker that used to be his, and he showed it off. It was the same note, or like same calligraphy that matched the note, or the note in the victim's mouth. So that was the thing that was supposed to point to him. Also, because he used to play football, he could like throw a ball really well and throw things very well. So he was ultimately the murderer. The last one is Lisa Capobianco, and she was like Terry Seattle's like high school crush, the girl he loved. And the scene right before they meet her is the scene that made me watch the show in the first place, where he's like walking down to her all awkward, and they go, okay, we're gonna do good cop, bad cop, but instead cool cop, stupid cop. And they just make him look like an idiot, and so he's like walking. He's like, you gotta make the noise. You gotta make a noise, a signature noise. It's so funny. It's, if you haven't seen the scene and you haven't watched the show, go do it. It's great. I'm sure if you're watching this, you've seen it, but it's, oh man, that scene is so good. Favorite scene from the show, even though I saw it before, it's the reason why they used that clip. The third victim actually dated the former Faceplay CEO back in high school or whatever, or like after they left high school. She used to play disc golf, so she could actually throw things really well. It actually almost made me think it was her, because I wasn't paying attention to the clues. I was laughing too hard. But in the end, it was Brad, and he lives on a rowboat. He could like tie really well, and the victim was tied up. He had the same calligraphy as the handwriting on the note. I think Kumail guessed it incorrectly. I think he guessed that it was Lisa or something like that. I don't remember for sure. But either way, pretty dang funny. I wouldn't have been able to pay attention if I was him either, because the things they made him do were so ridiculous. They made everyone do ridiculous things, but his just seemed outrageously ridiculous. Maybe they thought he could handle it because he's one of the funniest people on the planet, but I don't know. Then we have Annie Murphy as episode 4. A murder by soup was what happened. This is the episode Daz starts dating the chief and like making it public. Oh man. Let's see what else. Oh, they go and do role play when they're sitting down in the office together about ketchup and owning a ketchup factory, and he puts like ketchup on his neck or something like that, and oh yeah, no, they're like, he's like describing a murder scene or whatever, where there's like a body on the ground and then there's like red stuff covering it and ketchup is everywhere, and we own a ketchup factory. What do you think it was? And she goes, blood. And he goes, oh wow, you're gonna go there? Because it's like supposed to be a murder scene. And it's like, dude, what are you even talking about? It's just so goofy. But basically the city health inspector got killed by soup, drowned in soup. His name was Alistair Hale. They even say murdered by cancellation, because yeah, I don't know, something silly about that. The first was, it was killed by frog toxin. So it wasn't like actually soup, drowned in soup, but he ate poison in a soup from a frog that was from Colombia. and it was ordered by City Soups, and it had a specific bag. So that was the stuff. They made her pull out his phone and use Face ID to take photos, and they had her take photos with the dead dude, which didn't make sense at all, but just to be ridiculous with her and make her laugh. And the guy who was like the dead body was kind of laughing a bit because they had to pull him out of the soup to take a photo. To check his phone. Anyways, so the first one they go to is Chef Nanette, who had like her store closed down temporarily by this guy. She didn't like him publicly or something like that, but she's like busy working because she owns a bakery. And so they question her while they're like baking things, and Terry's purposely fucking up everything they're doing, just messing up the macaroons they're trying to make. And Annie's like trying her best to like ask questions and like get things through, but also like mitigate the damage that he does, even though it shouldn't matter. She's like trying her best to like not mess things up, but then they ultimately like she just gives up and they start sabotaging each other with their own cookies and throwing stuff around. The biggest thing that like popped up is that like she didn't have like to-go bags, which there was a bag for the City Soups sort of thing. So anyways, suspect 2 is this lady Anya Campbell, who was like a kindergarten teacher, seemingly super innocent. She even like says, "Oh yes, the police are here to keep you safe," and then Terry goes just a dig at police officers in general. Super funny. The health inspector shut down the school's bake sale because of like the kids like weren't supposed to be working, or like some sort of germ problem or whatever. Terry got sent to the thinking chair, or the thinking bench, had to apologize to Annie for being rude and disrespectful. The lady also had like a map on her wall that like showed where she had been, and like there was like a pin in the Columbia with her initials with AC on it, which somehow Annie caught. I did not. So then the third suspect, you go undercover again, and it's this mob that has been running a food truck operation that like is going against the grain and is supposed to have been shut down, but they keep rebelling and staying open. I don't know. Vinny is Vinny the Fork mobster, and he's the guy running the trucks. They send Annie in as Johnny Maplecock. I'm not even gonna say more, but they talk. She's like supposed to be like talking about open up a pancake truck, and wants to get the approval of this guy, like his blessing, since he's a mobster, to like sell in the area, so that she, that's okay. But they end up locking them. Will blows her cover by saying something stupid, or having her say something stupid, and he tries to run into the rescue, or he gets caught, I think, actually. And so they bring him in, they tie him up and lock him in the door, or into the freezer, but ultimately they break free very easily, which is like the clue that, hey, this guy doesn't know how to tie a knot or something like that, because the guy was, I don't know if that guy was tied down actually, but anyway, yeah, it was another pretty chaotic episode. I thought I caught the clues. I guessed Anya. Yeah, I guessed Anya. So I guess her same sort of reason, because she also had a Deadliest Animals textbook, and I saw that and I went, oh, the frog poison and Columbia, that's too coincidental. And so I just stuck with her even through the last little bit. Then they make a joke that she's got 25 years to life on the thinking bench, and then they talk about if they've ever had pancakes or whatever. And yeah, anyways, so last two episodes we've got This has actually been quite a long video, so thank you guys for sticking with me if you've been here this long. The last 2 episodes are Sharon Stone and Ken Jeong. 2 of some of the best episodes. I mean, they're all great in their own ways, but Sharon Stone probably is my second favorite behind Kumail because she just doesn't give a fuck about any of the shit that Will Arnett's trying to pull. She just literally stares him in the face and goes, "You're freaking ridiculous," and rolls her eyes at him all the time. Jeez, there's like a line that he says that if you're not getting better, you're getting deader. He's trying to sell this like pyramid scheme drink thing that's called, I don't even know what it's called. It's like some like supplement drink that you're supposed to take, but it's a pyramid scheme. You have to buy and sell. It's so dumb. He joins it and he tells Sharon Stone, "Hey, how do you feel about being like a murder detective?" And she's like, "I don't know." He's like, "Well, just so you know, we have a lot of laughs around here." It's like, that's not something you should be doing, but so then the murder is a hobo that got squished. No, it's not. There's something about a hobo getting squished. I don't know if that's when they're talking, but there was a surgeon that was killed at a hospital. His heart was surgically removed, and they were playing Requiem for a Dream over the intercom as they did it overnight, and then left it on for some reason. Terry makes a joke about, or he wants to be how he wants to be a SCOD. He's like, "Yeah, if I could be anything, I'd be a SCOD, a super cop on duty." And he asks Sharon Stone what she would be, and she goes, "A bae." And he's like, "Huh?" And it's all improv because he has no idea what she's gonna say. She goes, "Badass extraordinaire." He's like, "Oh, that's pretty dope." So it's pretty funny. First suspect is Dr. Jocelyn Alexander, who is another doctor. No, she's a weirdo health nut. No, she's not. Dr. Jocelyn Alexander, I don't actually remember much about her. She's not super memorable. She's the head of the hospital. So she's whoever's in charge of the hospital. I forget they're actually doctors. But she has like a coffee cup in her office. There was a coffee cup on the crime scene that like added up. She was a cello player, so she was really good with her hands and fingers. She's also a former surgeon. Then like they like she started asking that because this surgeon who had got his heart removed or whatever and killed was like super attracted to like all the people he worked with and caused her trouble. She started asking if Sharon Stone was attracted to Will Arnett, and she's like, "Yeah, no, not at all, not particularly." And she's like, "What? Come on, not even like a little bit?" And just like he's like trying to like get her to fall in. There's like a line he says to her at the very beginning where he's like, "Okay, regardless of what you think is gonna happen, I need you to know there's one rule. You have to follow this rule. No falling in love with me." But then like the rest of the episode, he tries to get her to fall in love with him. It's so funny. Anyways, they tell the front office lady, or the head of the hospital lady, tells them to go interview Madison Shen, who's the former lover of this guy, who was also a doctor there or whatever, who worked there. So essentially they go interview her. She does like Zumba. She says she doesn't drink any caffeine or doesn't like do any supplements outside of the weird stuff that he's trying to sell or something like that. And then she says physically that he ripped her heart out and stomped on it, and that's like exactly what happened to him as a murder victim. So it's like trying to get you to buy into it, but then you're not supposed to because it's not her. Then the last suspect is Dr. Gonzalez, who's like an anesthesiologist at the hospital. He's patched wounds and stuff like that before, and like knows how to handle things. When people mess up, they do a fake surgery on this dummy it like squirts out all this blood, and so like he's like on the phone for a minute, like trying to figure things out, but like they're doing surgery on a dummy and blood is just spilling all over the floor, and then he brings a whole other crew to come in to do this, to finish the surgery. As they like run out and go, okay, bye, they like come up with fake names and everything too. But as all this blood spilling all over the place, she's like, stop cutting it everywhere, like what are you doing? And she's just like, it's great. He didn't end up patching the wounds, but he said he was a surgeon, and I thought it was weird that he didn't do that, so I was kind of leaning towards Madison Chen because I wasn't paying attention. I was laughing all episode, just like the rest of these. I was laughing. And so I thought it was Madison Chen, the heartbroken ex, and it was actually just this anesthesiologist who just didn't like the dude for some reason. Yeah, and so I think Sharon Stone actually guessed the head of the hospital for some reason, which I don't understand why. Maybe the coffee cup or something like that. She had her reasons or whatever, but was wrong. Then there's like a post-credit scene in this one, which I thought was going to be a bigger thing for like season 2, but it ends up getting solved in the last episode. Terry has this dead partner named Lori who has died like 15 years ago, but he keeps her desk just like full of like random stuff, and cobwebs are forming and whatnot. And then all of a sudden Lori gets a phone call in the middle of the night while he's there after finishing solving this crime, and he goes, oh my gosh, I have a new lead, this is crazy. It was pretty like creepy and like open-ended, and was like, hey, I have something to tell you about Lori. And then it was just that her dry cleaning was there, which leads us into episode 6, solving Lori's death, who's Jennifer Aniston, but you don't ever see her aside from a picture, which is, I think, hilarious, because they don't have the budget to probably bring her on for this small little series or whatever. But maybe they will someday, who knows. She's already dead, though, I think. I think she's confirmed dead. Like, but anyways, so Ken Jeong's the new partner. Lori's death was happened years ago, but there's like her dry cleaning order was supposed to be picked up, and it had a notebook in it with like coded words in it. They make Ken Jeong sing Little Red Riding Hood, or say the story of Little Red Riding Hood in different tones to like change so that he could prove that he could shift his emotions and be flexible at any time during this investigation or something like that. It's pretty funny. They officially like open Lori's case, recreate the crime scene. They make Ken Jeong lay on the ground and pretend to be Lori and pretend to be dying. They like gather all the evidence, and then there's like this like little piece of plastic or something like that that like goes over the top of the notebook that shows the 3 suspects. So then they start to look at them. There's like a cracked lens, so somebody had to have had glasses. There's a ticket to James Taylor in her pocket, in her like coat pocket or whatever, or just left there in general. There was a 4-leaf clover, which had nothing to do, it sort of did, but it was supposed to be like a lead on. And then a professional hunting knife. And then there's all this evidence. They go, how did we not solve this? It's been 15 years. How have we not solved this? So then the little piece of plastic or covering or whatever releases the name of the suspects, and they go, Terry asks Ken, how deep are you willing to go for this? And he goes, balls deep, just straight out the gate. So the 3 suspects are Seamus Doyle, Rebecca Hendricks, and the police commissioner, Barton. And so Seamus Doyle is this Irishman who's locked up in jail. They send in Ken undercover as a fake inmate, and his name is Victor Boom Boom Santiago. Oh man, Seamus says that it's my cell, my rules. Terry's feeding him lines. they don't end up working to get him to release stuff. He's having to do push-ups with Seamus on account. And then so it's not working, so they go to plan B. And then this Terry comes in as a cell guard or whatever and goes, I'm not the substitute. I'm actually here to break you out. And he's like, something, you have to tell me something that's or he goes, my name is something O'Flanagan, and this is my best mate. And he points to Ken Jeong and goes, this is my best mate, Liam Neeson. Oh, what the fuck, man. Ken Jeong can't keep a straight face because he just got told that he's Liam Neeson and he's supposed to do an Irish accent. And then the Seamus Doyle goes, oh yes, of course, that makes more sense. And they make a joke about Irish Spring. Oh man. Then there's like I think Seamus goes, Liam Neeson, I think you'd be taken to snipe someone, because he's like talking about how he was a sniper, whereas like so he only killed from afar or whatever. He says he scared a whole town full of people with only just talking to them or whatever. But anyways, so he's a sniper. He's not like a guy to get up close and do it in person and stab someone or whatever, because got stabbed with a hunting knife. But he did say he was like a partial owner of a hunting knife company or something. Then they go to Rebecca Hendricks, who's running a show like Shark Tank. It's called The Den of Snakes, which is very fitting for her. But they come out as two salesmen pitching an idea for icebreakers on the show. And they name themselves Lincoln Gilnaeum, something like that, and Phil Danger. So Rebecca's like middle name is O'Leary. So they have these icebreakers. They're supposed to throw them on the ground, and then they pop out a question. And then all the questions were just geared towards Rebecca because they were trying to do it in a non-conspicuous way and not show that they were detectives looking into this murder. But they ask her, like, where were you the night of August whatever that she died? And she's like, I don't frickin' know that. What kind of question is this? And then she has, like, reading glasses or some sort of glasses with her that she puts on at some point during the interview or during the pitch. She talks about how she's owned a hunting supply chain store. She's talked about how she has like turned a bunch of development housing into like high-end housing. Terry, oh, that's different after. Hold on. So then, yeah, so they ask her all these questions. They ask her if she's ever seen James Taylor. She's like, or if she likes James Taylor. And she's like, these are just ridiculous questions. Do you have questions for anybody else here? Sort of thing. And they fail their pitch. They get sent away. No money. It's a fake idea. But they kind of got some answers a little bit. They also found out O'Leary was her maiden name. I don't know if I said that. But then they are on their way to go meet up with the police chief, police commissioner, and Terry gets a phone call from the apartments he's trying to apply at, and then he's found out he's been denied. So he says he's in the car with Ken, and he goes, hey, I'm actually here with the Finnish president right now. And they make him have a conversation with the apartment owners, talk about how, oh yeah, Greensboro's my favorite city, I don't know if you've heard of it, sort of thing. But he's doing this fake accent, and then he tells Terry, you're out of control. It's pretty great. Alright, so then Suspect 3, Commissioner Barton. They send Ken in again, alone, to investigate his office, check his file cabinet, check his computer, see if they can find anything. They find glasses with a cracked lens in his office, in his drawer. They find a planner for 2006, the year that Lori was murdered, is gone. They see a hunting license in his wallet. Then it's Phil Lamar, the voice of Green Lantern, actually, who's the guy who plays the commissioner, and he comes into the office unsuspectingly and is on the phone, and he says, people will do anything for money. And then Ken's in there in the office and trying to hide and stay hidden, even though the commissioner's like noticed, hey, there's things moved on my desk or something like that. And he's Will tells him, or Terry tells Ken, hey, keep calm, don't make any noise. And then immediately in the room they play fart noises, which shouldn't be heard by Terry because he's up on a roof watching from far away. But for some reason there's still fart noises that he can hear, and he goes, wow, what the heck was that? How are you? Yeah. Goofy stuff. So then he's like, all right, get up and say exactly what I say. And he makes him pop up and he goes, sorry about the farts. It's just ridiculous. There's a police commissioner with just a random dude in his office who's been farting, and he hears the farts and he's scoping it out. You pop up out of nowhere and say, sorry about the farts. Anyways, he starts telling him, I'm you from the future. And he's yeah, it's an African American guy and a shorter Asian man, and it's like, wait, I look like this in the future? Why do I look like this? Oh man, it's pretty great. But yeah, so then Terry has to come in and run into the rescue and tell him, hey, sorry, we were investigating you for this thing or whatever behind your back. But he's like, hey, I actually developed a phrase for this. Before Terry can get there, he goes, I developed a phrase for this in case anyone, if I ever came from the future, how I would prove to myself that I was a future version of myself. And they start like yelling out code words, and then he just starts yelling Tommy Tune. And yeah, so the code word is Tommy Tune, which is a callback to the second episode, and just, you know, his weird obsession with it for this whole series. Sorry if I'm getting like exhausted. This is like 50 minutes straight of me talking. I didn't think it would take this long to record this episode, but here we are. Yeah, so then they make Terry hand in his badge or whatever. He has to hand in his badge and his gun. And he's like, yeah, actually I don't have my gun. I've lost 9 firearms in 6 months. Oh god. Anyways, so then they all show up at the apartment complex that's being launched and that Terry's trying to move into, and they have all of the suspects there lined up randomly for the announcement of this thing. And Ken guesses that it was I think he guessed that the police captain murdered her or something, or he either guessed that or Seamus and was wrong, but it was actually the lady Rebecca who had murdered her, who directly murdered Lori. However, Terry is like running through the evidence in his mind and realizes all 3 of them were connected, that the housing project to like build this building that just had gotten finished was like sparked by Rebecca, and the people that were scared out of an entire town was because of Seamus like scaring them out of town. And Seamus O'Doyle is related to Rebecca, their brother and sister, and this whole thing got covered up by the commissioner who would do anything for money, who got paid off to have these apartments built there. And so he explains everything. They solve Lori's murder, case closed. The end of the season. I hope that there's a second season of this. I can only assume. They have lots more to explore. Then there's like a callback to the Finnish president stint in the car, and Terry's apartment is canceled. He can't actually move in because Daz and the chief moved in together into the apartment that was supposed to be for him because he lied on his application and lied about the fake Finnish president. So yeah, it's a great show. I am surprised I remember all of the stuff that I do because I haven't watched it in a month. I've been a bit behind on recording episodes or doing it back to back, which is why I just covered the whole series in one. But now that I'm kind of back, I'm all the way caught up now with every show that I'm watching, that I'm able to cover each individual episode so it doesn't get crazy long like this. If you lasted this long, props, because I couldn't. I'm not going to be able to watch this whole episode of myself. But this is a great show. One of the best improvs I think I've ever seen done, really, ever. The fact that there's so many celebrity guests not clued in is just hilarious, and I am excited to see who they do in season 2 if they bring more people on and continue this. So think that's about all I got for this. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and I'll see you guys in whatever you see me in next. Till then, peace.